for a certain amount of peace of mind, you can't look at them and feel sorrow. I mean, they died, most of them. But the thing is for me, is to forget this. But all those puppy love affairs, no, they were just like little puppies. You picked them up and cuddled them and you enjoyed them. That was it.
That's who goes to war, is puppies. That's how they get them to go to war. They get them when they're really young. What would it be called? What else would it be called? I guess you would have to call it kind of puppy love. It was a practice kind of time. You practiced being in love. And then they were gone.
My clip was the last clip, I think it was? Yes. It was two women talking about the many romances they had had during the Second World War, all of whom had ended up, the soldiers had gone off and died. And this was it's 25 years old, that tape. Part of a program called Like There Was No Tomorrow, which was 1 hour about teenage romance during World War II, which was one segment of a 6-hour documentary series that I did in 1989 called Lost Innocence, which is being replayed on ID this fall, which I'm 25 years later. So I did it for the 50th anniversary of the outbreak of World War II, and now it's the 75th. It doesn't freak me out at all, right? So that piece of tape I chose for its simplicity, because that is my personal bent. It's not the bent of the Sunday edition. The Sunday edition incorporates many, many styles, but my personal bent and the pieces I make are almost all voice only, no music, no sound. So for Sunday edition documentaries, sound sometimes matters hugely. Ms. Wells, who's here, is a mistress of sound. Sometimes sound doesn't matter at all, except the way a person is mic'd. Like those two women, Olive and June Colwood was the second woman. I don't know if that name means anything, but were mic'd very tight. Every little bit of noise and sigh was just there, and I love that. And so that's why I chose that clip to represent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So move on to your.
Yes, I have a visual prop.
You have to describe it to the folks in there.
Oh yeah, sorry, Joan. Sorry, it's very small. It was made for me about 20 years ago, actually, by a producer, and as it happens, who now works at the Sunday edition, who used to be terrified when I would run story meetings, saying, "No, don't like it. No, stop, no." And she made me this little thing with Annie Oakley and her gun that says, "Go ahead, pitch a story idea," which has been on my wall for all these years. But anyway, so the very first piece I ever made for CBC was a documentary. At first I applied to the mailroom, didn't get the job, and then I did a freelance documentary for a long gone program called Identities, which was the sort of ethnic show on CBC Radio then. And I had a mentor, and she was a secret mentor. Actually, she wasn't official. She didn't work at CBC Radio, but she helped me all along the way. The thing took months. It was hell on wheels to make. I would have died without her, and I'm eternally grateful to her still. And so all along my very long time here, I have attached myself to people who I could play tape to, bawl my eyes out with, freak out with, whatever, thrash out an idea, and I've done it quite deliberately because I need that myself, because making radio documentaries is can be a pretty lonely affair. And it was one of the things I found when I was on the road a little bit when I was at Sunday Morning. I found it terrifying to be out there in another city with a microphone, not knowing what I had, and having nobody to talk to. Very unlike TV, where you're out with the crew, and even just over supper, you can say, "What do you think?" So having somebody just to talk to is an important thing. Anybody who tells you that making radio documentaries is really fun is not telling the truth. Yes, it is fun sometimes, but it's excruciating at times. Fair dues? Excruciating, Mr. Chipman, would you say? Yes, excruciating. But it's hugely satisfying too. I highly recommend it as an experience. The documentary, and you can see with all these different styles, is a very flexible beast. And there's a world of stories that can best be told, I think, through documentary. So at the Sunday edition, we have docs that are 5 minutes, and we have docs that are an hour. So, well, we used to have docs that are an hour. We have shorter docs and longer docs, but we have a fair bit of flexibility. So when people say to me, when they come with a pitch, how long should this be? I always say, I don't know. It'll be what the story sustains. Yes, exactly. So our specs, when people write to me and say, what do you look for in documentaries on the Sunday edition? I send them one line which says, we look for a strong narrative, strong characters, food for thought, i.e. an idea, not quite in the same way you do, but a piece anchored by an idea, and some twist on the obvious, some surprise, some unlikely combination of characters or places or whatever. So there are some stories that are just natural sort of goosebump material, easy to see, story there, like A Place for Conasola, which ran last year. Bumper sticker is single mother nurse adopts refugee child of mother who dies in her care. Boom, right? You just know there's a story there. Or maximum security prisoners learn to dance. So, right? Aging
elevator pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Aging French feminists set up the Baba Yaga house to find a new way of growing old. Sold to me, not a problem. And other stories live more in sort of their action, their attitude, or the writing, but open big windows, like dementia care in Denmark, a piece that Karen Wells did, where right there we knew there was a story somewhere, because in Denmark there are no locked wards, which tells you a lot right there. So, and that was a beautiful piece. Or Mr. Chipman's piece on the, I don't always call him Mr. Chipman, but it's a thing, about the padre who was supposed to counsel Canadian troops with PTSD, who ended up crashing himself. Unlikely combinations of people. So, as I said, sound matters enormously, sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't matter at all. Scenes matter sometimes, and sometimes they don't matter at all. And as I said, most of mine have been with none of that, and that's partly because I'm scared of machines, so I go and record people in studio and put it together. So we have many different styles on the show, very sound-rich stories that Karen does. Ira's pieces, which are smart and funny and cranky and sort of a docu-essay kind of style. Gutnick's Heart on Your Sleeve, of emotion and music and any number of styles. But I'm not that interested in style, which isn't to say it doesn't matter. It matters a lot, but I am much more interested in story. So the bottom line is, give me a good story, and we're away. Well, we're halfway. Then there's the vetting process on the program, which is rigorous a good word for it?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. It's fun, too. Not scary. Demanding. It is. But I've never forgotten how hard it is to do this work. That documentary series, Lost Innocence, just about killed me. And I didn't make another documentary for 10 years after that. I thought, I'm out of this business, it's too hard. But it's wonderful. Nothing in my whole life has been more satisfying than doing that. Huh? And it lasts. So, I better shut up now. So I work with some of the most experienced people in the radio service, but I also work with people who've never made a documentary before. I've worked with a woman who never held a microphone before, who made a fabulous award-winning doc about her grandmother, Indian grandmother, who was married at 10, a mother at 15, and who got her MA at 80. And she had never held a microphone before. So I am open to that, but it better be a fabulous story to get over that hurdle. And now I better shut up, right?
Now you gotta shut up.
Okay, sorry.